If we are in Florida and the Florida Democratic Party, along with the National Democratic Party, is locked in on two things: abortion and marijuana. And Curtis is against both of them. Like, how are you a Democrat? Those are the two things we need you to do.
So I'm going to contradict myself what I said earlier. You can still be a Democrat and be against two party ideas, but it just seems to be happening consistently with Curtis. I don't know, man. He seems to be on the other side.
And let's just skip to the city commission. I think that is like the biggest local race right now, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, Daryl Parks, Corey Simon, I even if Daryl wins that seat, we're still in a supermajority in the Senate, whatever. But we could do some different stuff in the city if we get somebody new elected here. And so the candidates for city commission seat 2 are Inman-Johnson and Curtis Richardson. I'll just go ahead and start with this because it's funny. I just had this conversation with a FAMU student today who reached out from the J school I guess the J school and some students there are doing a lot of stories on this race, which I think is great. Y'all keep doing that. But they asked me why did why do I, and we meaning the Leon County Young Democrats, endorse Dot? And I essentially was just like, every time that we've talked to her and when she came in for interviews and etc., she always seemed, one, very knowledgeable as to what she's talking about. I mean, she has been a city commissioner, was the first Black female mayor of Tallahassee. So she definitely has the experience and definitely talks from it. And so when she's saying we can do this and we can do this, she actually has we can do this because there's this thing in place, there's this thing in place, there's this thing that I've done before. And the biggest thing is, of course, the investments that we have been taking in this city. And the main thing that I mentioned was that we're very disappointed with where our money is currently going. And Dot has talked about what she has done with city money before as city commission, but also was talking about what she wants to do, what we would rather do, what that money could be actually used for. So again, that's my opinion as to why I think Dot is a better candidate amongst some other things. But I'll pause and I want to hear again my black man. Black man, are you supporting the other black man?
So this is an interesting race to me. We have two statespersons, people who are very experienced. Curtis has a lot of experience, as does Dot. So then it takes experience off the table. We don't have to worry about who's capable of handling the job. Now we can look solely at policy and their orientation and make the decision. Now, they're both registered Democrats, but when we look closely, I feel that only one of them has policy ideas that align with the Democratic Party's values. I know Curtis Richardson personally. I've heard him. I've watched him for years. But I've watched him for years, and I don't agree with a lot of Curtis's decisions, but I respect him. But with that said, Dot offers us a chance to change without losing much, to put someone in that seat who's going to help us move the city in a progressive fashion, meaning that we make progress for the entire city and not just for the development sector of the city, which Curtis seems to be aligned with. And I know people are going to hate me for saying that, but I just can't hear to tell the truth. I think Curtis has had a good run. He's made a lot of decisions that I disagree with, and I would like to put somebody else in that seat and give them a chance. Dr. Inman-Johnson being the person who I think could get us back on the right track and break that 3-2 stronghold that seems to be strangling progress in this city.
Yeah, I mean, slight pushback for what you said about the experience. Okay. Yes, Curtis has been in office for longer than I've been alive. So yeah, he has the years in it. But I would disagree that his years are equivalent to Dot's experience just because of what we have actually seen. We've seen Curtis Richardson being the state representative for this area. the county commissioner for this area, and then now a city commissioner for the same area of Tallahassee. And it is not any better than when he first got in 50 years ago, or however long ago it was that he first got into office. So while he's been sitting in that seat looking cute with the bald head, he ain't been doing nothing.
Come on. Okay. So now you forced me to defend Curtis here, right?
What?
Okay. Some things have gotten better. Some things have not. So I don't think Curtis takes the full blame for all of that. But I think more importantly, let's look at his specific voting record and identify the things we didn't like. Curtis has been on the wrong side of several decisions. He seemed for quite some time to be locked in with Mayor Daley, and that led him to make decisions that I didn't think were in the best interest of the community. And more specifically, as an advocate for Tallahassee's black communities, I didn't think Curtis always made decisions in our favor. He made financial or fiscal decisions, I should say, at the city that seemed to benefit developers, developing into the South Side, developing everywhere, but he didn't seem to make those same or equitable investments into Tallahassee's black community. Or if we even were to take race out of it and just look at the class issues, he didn't seem to make decisions that favor people who were not as fortunate in the city. And I thought that was my problem with Curtis. But I'm not going to say that everything got worse since Curtis got in office. I would say that.
Okay, that's fair. You can say that. It's fine. Well, let's go into some of the policy things then. Let's go into it. I'll stop being petty. So let's start maybe with crime, since that's his top thing that he always says is the biggest issue in Tallahassee. That's the top issue that everybody cares about, is crime and public safety. Correct. Which he voted to raise our property taxes in the city, that he thinks was modest. If you agree or disagree if it was modest, I've heard people think that $100, $200 isn't modest, but alas, to go to our police, not firefighters, just the police, to handle public safety. I don't think I've seen a study yet about public safety say that investing more money into putting more cops in places reduce crime. Have you?
No.
So, policy number one, he's voting to make us pay more money to get the Tallahassee Police Department their own cop city. If you heard about it in Atlanta, Tallahassee is building its own cop city right here in front of a middle school. Like, I don't think we really ever talk about like where exactly this police station is being built. It's being built in a school district with our blackest populations, Godby, besides, Rickards, but Godby and Raw right in front of them. And it's a cop city. They are going to be sitting here patrolling them the most, our people. And, I just don't like the sort of like premise that you have to like agree with, is that our people need to be heavily policed because we're instinctively violent. We don't know how to, like, what is it, Curtis? What you think?
So it's interesting, right? And I don't think Curtis is going to be alone here. Some people think that we do need more policing. Now, I know the research shows that that's not the case, but I think there is strong public opinion to support adding police. I just wish people were more informed on that. And I wish Curtis was more informed on this. If we want to address crime, and I think I saw a report, crime is ultimately down in Tallahassee this year compared to last year, and it's been trending down. And I've heard Curtis say that. So crime is moving in the right direction, but it still has that impact, and it's a sting every time we have shootings or we have robberies. So there does need to be a comprehensive approach to address crime, and it gets really annoying when people want to focus on investing in police departments as a way to reduce crime. Investing in police is a way to increase arrest and arresting people, but it does not reduce crime. And I think I've said this before and I got criticized. Crime is a public health issue. And when you approach it that way as a social issue, and your programming should be feasible to address something that is a social issue, not as a responsive or reactive issue like hiring more police. That's what that's for, to react to crime. But we need to be more proactive. And I think that that is something that's lacking from the vision on the city commission. And when I've talked with Dr. Inman-Johnson, she has that vision. She fully understands that concept that you don't fight crime by building a new police station. That doesn't fix the problem. You have to actually get into the community and implement programming that prevents young people from going into crime.
If police stopped crime, like we would see a reduction in crime because of police. Police have over every year have steadily increased their budgets everywhere. Everywhere, police have increased their budgets. I don't think there's been any municipality that I could think of locally or, you know, close to us in the state of Florida that has taken money out of their, you know, their police stations and et cetera, you know, since 2020, since, you know, the you know, defund the police that these Republicans and some weird Democrats were so worried about. None of those police stations have not received any funding. They've increased their funding, but these same politicians will turn around and say that there's an increase in crime. And if any other sector was like, we're going to put more money into addressing this thing, and then that thing didn't get addressed, they would not have any money. I mean, we're seeing Corey Simon and them taking money out of public education because they think that public education isn't working. Well, if there's a bunch of crime here, why are you continuing to give money to an entity that has not done anything for it? In with your argument. Yeah. And yes, go back to Dot, is that from those conversations about public safety, she has definitely been super on top of that. She leads with the fact that crime comes from desperation, comes from poverty, and we need to address poverty in order to address crime, period. And I love that. Another reason why I'm voting for her. Another reason why I'm voting for her, women's rights. Curtis Richardson voted against a abortion resolution a couple of years ago in 2022. When all of the abortion bans were coming out of the state initially, the people of Tallahassee pushed for our city and our county to stand up and stand with the activists and women in Tallahassee and say that we support you no matter what. He voted no for it. And
what was his reason?
His reasoning, what I remember, was that he said it's personal, like he personally doesn't agree with abortion, and he thinks that the resolution wasn't going to do anything because the legislature was going to do what it wanted to do. And to that I say, all of the empty resolutions that we have coming out of this city, like all of the fake weird awards and resolutions, like I tell y'all, go click on a random city commission like meeting recording and watch the first 5 minutes. You don't have to watch anything else. You will see the most boring, unnecessary stuff you've ever seen. Awards to people that, do they even need it? Are these just campaign donors? Like, what is this? And the one thing that the people, like, this wasn't just like some like committee or, you know, a few group of people. The people of Tallahassee told the city commissioners and the county to vote for this resolution. And he voted no. And he said that he does not support a woman's right to, he does not support that. And I can't have any representative of mine saying that.
So this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. We have this understanding that, I mean, everyone could register for whatever party they want, but sometimes how you vote, it does not align with the party's values. And this is just another place where Curtis is not aligned with the Democratic Party, which is okay if he chooses not to. But I think that's something that he, you know, the Democratic Party is going to have to hold Commissioner Richardson accountable for that. He went against, you know, what is a fundamental value is that women should have autonomy over their bodies. And Curtis doesn't agree with that. He thinks women should be subjected to state policies to make decisions for them when they're in a room with their doctor.
I want to touch on that point, but before I get into that, have you seen this ad that was released? I think maybe a couple of weeks ago at this point. The ad, the abortion ad, addressed at Curtis. Have you seen it? Mm-hmm. Well, we're gonna show it to everybody. Take a look.
I had an abortion when I was 20 years old. When anti-abortion extremists were storming across the country, they came to Tallahassee too. This is to you, Curtis Richardson. Women deserve to have access to health care. When it was his turn to vote, Curtis didn't side with girls like us. He sided with them. Curtis Richardson is not the man I thought he was.
Wow. Every time I see it, I get the chill.
It's heavy. I mean, this is real. Like, this is people's real lives. And I think that's why I get so, hype about this stuff. And I think even in, like, a few of my bios, I'm like, policy is personal. Like, this shit is real. Like, we have politicians in office who act like the things that they do aren't going to affect them. And we're the ones having to take the brunt of it. Yeah. And while, yes, this was a resolution, and whether you think it was going to do anything to push the legislature is besides the point. The people wanted you to stand up with us. He decided to come to an abortion rally. He got booed at it, but he decided to come to an abortion rally after voting no on that resolution.
Bad look.
Bad look. Like, he thinks that he could just show up to things, which he said in debates. More recently, I think it was the Tiger Bay one, or maybe some other ones, where he's like, oh, you can never say that Curtis don't be it, that the Curtis Richardson is everywhere.
He is everywhere. I give him that. He comes to everything.
What does that have to do with anything? When the thing that you need to show up for, like the votes for, are we going to have more affordable housing in Tallahassee? You get your black butt up and you leave, which is what he did. When we want you to sit here and show up, like for this abortion resolution, you coward. Like, I don't respect, especially, and this goes back to what I wanted to touch on about the Democratic Party and Democratic candidates. If we are in Florida, and the Florida Democratic Party, along with the National Democratic Party, is locked in on two things: abortion and marijuana, and Curtis is against both of them. Like, how are you a Democrat? Those are the two things we need you to do.
So I'm going to contradict myself what I said earlier. You can still be a Democrat and be against two party ideas, but it just seems to be happening consistently with Curtis. I don't know, man. He seems to be on the other side. He might be what did I used to call him, a blue dog Democrat back in the day, or a Reagan Democrat. So I don't know. I can't speak for Curtis on that, but yeah, he does seem to be outside of what the party is aligned with. And then you think about, what is a political party? This is a coalition of voters who are identifying specific policy ideas that we're all going to support. And if you're against those, then it's like, maybe drop the Democrat label.
That's what I'm saying. I think if you are against abortion, there's a political party for you, the Republicans. If you are against marijuana, there is a political party for you, Republicans. If you are against anything that has to do with Black history and whatever,
Curtis is not against Black history.
He's not. But I'm just giving out examples. There is a party for you, the Republicans.
So let me say this, right? I think one of the issues we have here in Tallahassee, right, is that there is no viable option for Republicans to win local elections. So what happens is people with conservative, extreme right-wing views, they'll either stay NPA or they'll move into the Democratic Party, and they'll just hang out there and run as Democrats with extremist policies that would make their Republican overlords happy. I'm not saying Curtis is doing that, but it looks bad when you're consistently opposed to the party. It's like, well, if you don't dance to our music, then what you doing at the party?
He's doing that. Curtis is dancing to that Republican music, tap dancing even. Tap dancing with the developers, tap dancing with the Republicans, tap dancing with the anti-abortion people, tap dancing with the anti-weed people.
I know he got a lot of money from the Republican Party. So I think they said, I saw something, and I need to be fact checked on this, but it was somewhere north of $90,000 that came to Curtis from Republicans. That's what was sent to me in local information. So, man, he has a lot of Republican support, so he must be representing something that Republicans see value in. And that's not inherently a bad thing. It just means, no, because we're not talking good or bad. We're talking about pursuing our interests. For me, it's important, even as a person who I don't like abortion, but I respect a woman's right to make decisions about her body. And I definitely don't want DeSantis in the state of Florida telling women they can't get abortions. No matter how I feel about it personally, that's not the state's job to do that. And, it's interesting. You would think Republicans who claim to want limited government and not have the government interfering on people's inalienable rights, they would support that. But for some reason, that doesn't translate. But with that said, I'm supporting Inman-Johnson.
Definitely support. Well, I unfortunately do not live in the city, so I'm going ham on something I can't even vote for. But I encourage all of you to vote for Dot.